What is your American dream?
My American dream is for everyone to walk around freely and comfortable and not being afraid to show who they are.
My American dream is to help my people from my community.
My American dream is for people to be aware of different cultures and traditions and to be respectful of each other, of all those differences, because America is actually built by immigrants. We are all immigrants in this country.
My American dream is to continue doing what I'm doing and educating people about who we are as Mexicans, what we have to contribute to this country, and we are part of this country. Let's not forget that.
My American dream is for everybody to know that I'm not a bad man, that I'm really capable to do a lot of stuff in the best way possible, always with love, with respect, and with that passion that is a characteristic of us Mexicans.
Everyone has a right to the American dream. Welcome, everybody. It is Brad Show Live. My name is Brad Bernstein. It is Thursday, January 14th. 6 more days. 6 more days until we get Joe Biden and we say goodbye to Mr. Trump. 6 more days. It will be a very long 6 days. I think anything could possibly happen, which is really sad. But it will be a long 6 days. But inauguration is 6 days away, and we're going to get Joe Biden finally, and he is talking about immigration reform, stimulus, environment, social justice, everything we've talked about for 4 years. We said we wish we could just get somebody in there. So let's hope for the best and pray for the best, and let's support Joe Biden. And let's also support Yo-Yo and Vanessa. Where are you guys? How are you? I don't hear nobody.
No.
There we go.
I don't
hear
you.
Go. By the way, you know,
what happened?
Nothing happened. Now I hear you. By the way, let me ask you a question. And by the way, first of all, how are you?
Great.
Awesome. Great. Good.
Yeah.
Thumbs up.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Why does it look like you're on you're like on a Hawaiian vacation somewhere?
I know, right?
you look like you're like hanging out in Maui or something.
It's just wishful thinking.
Is that
at this
what it
point.
is? Because it's cold outside, but you're like in a Hawaiian
right,
shirt.
and me and Brad are in cashmere.
Exactly. It's not a Hawaiian shirt. It looks like it, but it's very colorful, nevertheless.
Yes. I mean, trying to brighten up your day, Brad. Just trying to brighten up your day.
Let me ask you a question. What is the first thing, what is the first thing that enters your mind as soon as you hear Donald Trump? Okay, because we've been talking about this guy for 4 years. I spend at least 45 minutes every day we're live here on the show talking about this guy for 4 years. So, and somebody asked me that earlier today, and I said, what's the first thing, the first, like you can say Donald Trump, and you have to like make a reflex. The first thing is pumpkin.
Yeah.
I swear to God, we've called this guy Pumpkin so much. As soon as, like every Halloween, he even looks like a pumpkin, doesn't he? Doesn't he look like a jack-o'-lantern? I mean, every Halloween, I'm going to be haunted by Donald Trump because, in my psyche, deep down, the first thing I think about is pumpkins as soon as I hear his name. What about you guys? Is like what pops in? Like if I say Vanessa right now, Donald Trump.
Loud.
What do you?
Mine isn't too nice.
You can say it.
Idiot.
That's the first thing.
Yeah. Idiot.
Well, I actually think a-hole would be a better reaction. But in all honesty, I just keep thinking of pumpkins every time I hear his name. I think of a pumpkin.
Yeah. Well, I know that for sure for you because you literally say that about 45 times in one show. So because we're always talking about him, and I don't think I've ever heard you actually say President Donald Trump,
never. Never. We for 4 years we've called him Pumpkin. I wonder what the squad, if you could. I don't want the squad to like think about what they think about Donald Trump. What I want the squad to share with us is like your visceral gut instinct reaction. You say Donald Trump, the first thing that pops in your head. Not what you think about him, because what we think about him, I can think of a lot more things to describe him than pumpkin, but literally the first thing that pops in my head is pumpkin. I wonder what other people.
Squad, let us know. Let us know.
Like Camille Cope said dumpster.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
All right. Well, why don't you, Yo-Yo and Vanessa, why don't you collect some of the comments, what people think. The first thing, we got this pumpkin for 6 more days while I say hello to the squad. Lisa Blink Rose, squad up, how are you? Jessica Leamy saying squad up, my loves. She's putting pressure on me to say hello to every person that says hello to me in the comments. It's impossible, Jessica Leamy. Pepe Samuel, hi squad, how are you? Mel Caballero, blessings. Asila Enot, squad up, how are you? Deion Watson, squad up. Cindy Harris, squad up, Brad. Lisa Bling Rose, how are you? Deion Reed, Christy Consali, Therese Slater saying hello to everybody. Stargirl Mika, squad up. Willie L. Williams, hey you. He usually says, hey, but today it's hey you. Nathaniel Konu, squad up, how are you? Who else we got here? Ma Dukes, squad up. And I said Christy Consali. Let's go over to YouTube. Asila Enots, squad up, how are you? John Love, haven't seen John in a couple days. Corrine Williams, Carlos Estrella, all the way from the DR. Jeremy Goldberg on Poetry Thursday. I see his poetry.
Whoa.
Do you want me to announce it now? Why not? It's Poetry Thursday. Jeremy Goldberg, also known as J Rhymes, writes, it's 2021 and it's just begun. Brad, Jan, and Ness bringing in the fun. I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something. He gets
better and better.
I don't want to say Jay Rhymes is William Shakespeare, but he's getting a lot better, right? Yeah, I think William Shakespeare's got a few on him still, but he's getting much better, this Jay Rhymes.
Getting much better.
Yes.
He's getting much better.
She Love Joseph, squad up, and Getaway Kath, squad up, family. Have a great day again. Yo-Yo and Vanessa, what do you got?
Did you say hey to Carol Anderson the Tiger?
Maybe not. Carol Anderson the Tiger, squad up. I mean, there's over 100 people saying squad up to me. We would spend 45 minutes saying squad up to everybody. I can't. It's impossible.
And Deion Reed.
No, I did not. Deion Reed, squad up.
They calling you out.
They're calling me out. I know.
It's hard.
It's very hard. I want you to know, I love them all. Just because I don't say your name doesn't mean I love you any less.
Absolutely.
All right. I just love you a little more if I do say your name. No, I'm only kidding.
No,
That's not true. I'm only kidding. All right. Yo-Yo and Vanessa, take it away.
Absolutely. All right, squad. Now remember, please, I need you all to share all platforms, all right? Because we're about to start schmoozing real soon with Brad. He's going to fill us in on the latest news, including that some immigrants are going to be now eligible for stimulus checks. Amazing.
Ooh. And we'll be talking wacky world news, including a story about a UK man who legally changed his name to that of a very popular female singer. Can you guys try and guess who? Let us know in the comments, and you're gonna have to hang in to hear that story.
I wonder who it is. And by the way, I am in studio, so you can call 1-800-529-5465 to get your immigration questions asked and answered. I will be taking your calls after the schmooze. You can also call the same telephone number, 1-800-529-5465. It scrolls below this show during the entire 2-hour show. If you need to reach me at Spar and Bernstein. Internationally, it's 212-227-8933. Later in the show, I am going to be speaking with Mexican-American singer, songwriter, and musician Alejandro Escovedo about his latest album, La Cruzada, which is a Spanish version of his acclaimed 2018 album, The Crossing, his career and his family's immigration story. By the way, Yo-Yo and Vanessa, before we go to schmooze, do we have any any collected comments from the squad about their first reaction when they hear Donald Trump? And by the way, don't worry. We're not going to bleep anybody. We're not going to bleep anybody. This is raw comments. What do we got?
Okay, raw comments.
Raw
Stargirl
comments.
Mika, number one from Stargirl Mika is piece of shit.
Yep. Yep. That can come to mind too, Stargirl. What else?
Yeah.
What else you got, Vanessa? You have any?
I got one from.
I don't
Christy
have any on YouTube yet.
Okay.
Nope.
I have one.
Here
Christy Consali said, right now, the first thing that pops in my head is 6 more days.
That is right. That is right.
That was about Jessica Leamy said Sharpie King.
Jessica Leamy said what?
Sharpie King.
Sharpie King. Oh yes, from the that's right. I remember from the hurricane, right?
Right.
All right, let's go to schmoozing with Brad. Why not, right? Let's start schmoozing.
Let's do it.
Well, one thing that came out, by the way, from the coronavirus package that passed Congress this past December is when people are getting the $600 check, people who are in mixed marriages, and we're not talking about mixed marriages in terms of race, we're talking about mixed marriages where there is one person who is a resident or a U.S. citizen and somebody who is out of status or not living in the United States of America. Those people who filed tax returns did not get the stimulus the first time around. That has been fixed this time, and people in those type of mixed marriages in the CARES Act are getting $600. As well as retroactive payments of $1,200 from the prior CARES Act. Nice. Now, how do you know if somebody is in that type of marriage? Well, the IRS has no idea, what your immigration status is when you file your tax return. And there are people who are undocumented who have a Social Security number who got stimulus checks. So basically, if you filed a joint tax return with somebody who had a Social Security number, my presumption would be that the IRS, I'm sure there's an example that doesn't exist, but my presumption is the IRS has no idea, Treasury Department has no idea whether or not what your immigration status is. And if you have a Social Security number, they sent you a check. But probably what they did would be my guess, and I didn't ask every last person. But probably what they did is if you filed a tax return with a Social Security number and a taxpayer ID number, those people probably did not get the stimulus. So that has been fixed. With the incoming administration and Congress likely poised to consider increasing those checks. As a matter of fact, it came out right before we came on the air today that Biden is going to propose $1,400 additional. So everybody will be getting that. If it passes, everybody will be getting that $2,000 stimulus, $600 from the check that was already sent out, plus another $1,400. He said he is going to request Congress to pass that on day one.
I'm okay with that.
You're okay with that? Another $1,400 in Yo-Yo and Boss Lady's pocket, right?
Yes.
Well, what you gonna do, Bradford? What you gonna do?
I don't know. You're like.
Give a nice welcome gift. I'ma take it.
You're like, give me, right? What was that? The guy from the
money reside.
Right. That's right. That was it. The guy from the car. Right. So, and in addition, they're going to extend and do some sort of boost of unemployment insurance through at least March or April. So in addition to whatever uninsurance people are getting right now for unemployment, they are going to boost that as well. All of that, Joe Biden is going to be making a speech sometime. Maybe he's doing it right now, but it's sometime this evening. And all of that is going to be proposed to be passed on day one. Meanwhile, investigators are now looking into the possibility, this is sick, that the Capitol riot was more than just a protest that spiraled out of control, because that's what everybody is led to believe. However, there is some evidence that has been uncovered that would indicate that it was pre-planned, this entire thing, because people got caught with weapons. People were seen on surveillance video placing bombs. That is not a spontaneous march to the Capitol that got out of control. That is pre-planned. Questions have also been raised about whether rioters had insider help from several Congresspeople. Ali Alexander, the organizer of Stop the Steal movement. Now, Stop the Steal movement, that was the movement that went across Facebook. That was the lie that Donald Trump was saying to everybody that Biden stole the election from him, which is absolutely not true. Now, the organizer of the Stop the Steal movement said he hatched a plan alongside Representatives Andy Biggs of Arizona, Mo Brooks of Alabama, and Paul Gosar of Arizona, all hard-line Trump supporters. The Department of Justice is using tactics it typically employs in counterterrorism investigations to apprehend and charge suspects. Now, a slew of new charges has come out today, including, we talked about the Olympic medalist Cleet Keller and a man seen on video wearing a Camp Auschwitz sweatshirt. Now, Auschwitz being the concentration camp in Poland, where millions of Jews got murdered by the Nazis. The number of new federal criminal cases is now up to 32. They expect within the next couple of days to charge hundreds more. Kevin Seafried, who is carrying the Confederate flag, and his son Hunter Seafried are expected to be arraigned later Thursday in U.S. District Court. More than 150 years after the end of the Civil War, the image of the Confederate battle flag being carried outside the Senate floor was a stark reminder of the persistence of white supremacism here in the United States still.
Do you guys think that any of these people actually thought that they were going to get arrested and tried and get actual prison?
No, they really thought these were all anarchists, white supremacists, Nazis, guys wearing Camp Auschwitz sweatshirts, Nazi, guys wearing Confederate flag, could be Ku Klux Klan, Nazi, anarchist, Proud Boy, I don't know, all the same crap to me, right? I think they really believed Donald Trump, that they were going to overthrow the government. Who goes into a war to lose? Does anybody ever go into a war to lose? Nobody ever goes in. All right, I've never met anybody who's ever gone into a war to lose. So if you go into a war, people don't go, I'm going to go into war and I'm definitely going to lose. Okay? Yes, if you're doing peaceful protests to bring attention, and you bring attention, yes, people go into that situation saying, I know I'm going to get arrested, but I'm bringing attention to an issue. I don't think these people thought they were getting arrested. They were going to war to overthrow the U.S. government. That's what I believe.
Yeah, they thought they were in the clear, obviously. Now,
meanwhile, Trump, we thought the pumpkin was getting weird. The pumpkin's getting weirder by the minute. Now, there are predictable moments such as, he is now turned against Rudy Giuliani, his lawyer.
What?
Wow.
Yes,
not
Trump,
his right hand.
Yes, after everything Rudy Giuliani did for Donald Trump, including bleed black dye out of his hair on a hot day in front of the Four Seasons nursery. Everybody thought it was the Four Seasons Hotel in Philadelphia. That was really funny. And after everything he did, including going to Ukraine to try to get dirt on Biden. Think about everything Giuliani did for Trump. Donald Trump has now told his staff not to pay Rudy Giuliani his fee.
Wow.
Yes. So at the end of the day, after everything Rudy Giuliani did for Donald Trump, he's getting stiffed on his fee.
I actually love it.
But that happens to all the lawyers. Almost all, lawyers who lose the case never get paid. He lost the case for Trump. He didn't steal the election back for Donald Trump. He lost.
Right.
Lawyers who lose don't get paid. That's generally how it works.
But how about all the work that you put in?
Of course, all the work you put in. The lawyer. I'm not saying the lawyer doesn't deserve to get paid, but I'm saying generally, generally when you lose a case, the clients always screw the lawyer. But I'll tell you this.
You think he really thought he was going to win the election back? Like
yes,
after?
Yes, he's that delusional. Yes. Why would he do this? Now, he didn't do this for his jollies. He did this to try to overthrow the United States of America. He said other strongmen have done it. Other people, every dictator, every authoritarian figure from in the last 100 years, Adolf Hitler. I'm not saying Donald Trump is Adolf Hitler, but Adolf Hitler was elected in a fair democratic election. And then he never left. Vladimir Putin was elected in somewhat of a fair election. He's never left. Erdogan in Turkey, elected in a fair election, has never left.
Same thing with the Eritrean president.
That's correct. The playbook for authoritarian figures is to gain legitimacy by being elected in a fair election, and then once getting in power, consolidating that power, and then rigging everything so they never leave.
Wow.
That's what he tried to do.
It's wild.
There's also some other bizarre moments. He talked about going to Congress yesterday to defend himself in the impeachment. That would have been interesting. I wish he would have done that. Quoting sources inside the White House, because if you're guilty of something, the first thing every lawyer does, this is lawyering 101. If you are guilty, do not get on the stand and testify. You will get shredded. Shredded. That's why you always see the criminal defense lawyer like, my client's not going to testify. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Not all the time, and not because you didn't testify doesn't mean you're guilty, but usually, you get shredded when you go to testify. And the reason is because you don't have to prove your innocence, they got to prove your guilt. So as soon as you come to testify, you're already assuming they've proven your guilt, and you're trying to talk your way out of it, and it just gets worse and worse and worse.
Whoa. Now, I never knew why.
Yeah. Now, quoting sources from inside the White House, the New York Times said, while the House was voting, Trump was furious at Republican members for opposing him on the House floor, particularly Kevin McCarthy. He is the House Minority Leader. He did not vote for impeachment, but what he said was that Donald Trump caused the riot and that Trump should be censured. What Kevin McCarthy did was he took I don't want to call him a dirty name. He took the cat way out, if you understand. Okay? Meow. Yeah, the meow way out. Because he came out and
the censorship there.
Yes, he came out and he said what Trump did was wrong. He sent a violent mob to try to disrupt the electoral college vote. But I think he should be censured. And I'm not going to vote for impeachment. Censure is just that the House representative says, what you did was bad.
Right.
It has no teeth to it. It has nothing to it. So he has basically taken the cat way out, so he can go and play either side depending on how everything turns out. So, for example, if Trump still becomes the leader of the Republican Party after all this is said and done, I doubt it, but if he does, he can stand up and say, I didn't vote for impeachment. And if Trump is ousted and everyone hates Trump in the Republican Party, he could say, I stood up on the House floor and said what he did was wrong. It's just playing both sides.
Wow.
It's the cat way.
Yes.
Meow.
Meow.
I don't want to say it. This is a family show.
We get.
This is a family show.
Right.
Now, some advisors have suggested that Trump resign before his term ends to avoid the risk of conviction and getting barred from running in 2024, but Trump has refused. He cites Richard Nixon. He said after Nixon resigned, he lost power in the Republican Party. So Trump is not going to resign because he is going to try to keep the grip of the Republican Party. In the next coming months, it is going to be a fight for the soul of the Republican Party. Is it going to be Donald Trump still in control, or is Trump going to be ousted? That is what, and Mitch McConnell, the Senate leader, he's already taken a side. He says oust Trump. But he wants to have the trial for the impeachment after Biden becomes president. But Mitch McConnell has already said oust him.
Wow.
Meanwhile, they say that there's going to be a record audience for Joe Biden's inauguration. Much different than Donald Trump, who claims he had a record audience. Remember, Donald Trump said he had a big record audience, and then they showed the pictures, and there was nobody there in the Washington Mall. Yeah.
Yeah, there were empty spots.
Yeah.
Is that over?
Yeah, but the reason why is, I think, because of the events of what's happened in the last few weeks, and because everything's going to be televised, because nobody's going to be able to go to Washington, D.C. to attend in person. So as a result, the TV networks are believing that this is going to be the most watched inauguration ever in the history of the United States. The numbers...
by audience record. I was like, I thought they weren't going to have people there like that.
No, they're talking about television. The numbers to beat.
Oh, yeah.
Who do you think had the largest television audience of an inauguration ever?
Obama?
Nope.
Obama?
Nope. It's surprising. Nope.
Clinton?
Nope.
Don't tell me Bush.
Nope.
What, like a Reagan?
Reagan did, yes.
Yeah.
41.8 million viewers watched Ronald Reagan's inauguration. Now, if you remember, Reagan took office 3 or 4, maybe a week. It was a couple days or a week or 2 weeks, but it was a very short period of time. It was right at the end of the Iran hostage crisis, 1979 going into 1980. The United States was in a deep recession. Oil was spiking. People were waiting on lines. If your license ended in an odd number, you could only fill your car up with gas on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If it was an even number, you could only fill your car up on a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. And there was long lines for gasoline. Unemployment was like 15%. The United States just went through the Iran hostage crisis. The military tried to go in and rescue the hostages, if you remember, and their helicopters broke in the desert because the helicopters that they sent in were not meant to be landed in a desert. So the whole entire Iran hostage thing was a disaster. Americans felt terrible about everything. And Ronald Reagan came in, Mr. Hollywood, because he was a Western Hollywood actor. And so people were just really, hoping for just something. And I think, with Biden, it's the same thing, except worse. Worse now because of what we just went through with Trump. So people believe that this is going to be the highest record television audience of an inauguration ever in the history of the United States.
Wow.
I mean, there were no cell phones during Reagan's, so we might just double people watch it from their phones too.
Now, this is interesting because we've been talking about the Flint water crisis throughout the last couple of years on our show. Now, former Michigan Governor Rick Snyder and ex-Flint Public Works Director Howard Croft have been charged in the Flint water crisis. 12 people have died, and they got at least 80 people sick from poisoning, purposely knowing that the water was poisoned in Flint, Michigan, and did nothing about it. Each are facing counts of willful neglect of duty, which is a misdemeanor in Michigan. Flint has been exposed to extremely high levels of lead since 2014, when city and state officials switched the city's water supply from Detroit water system to the contaminated Flint River in an effort to cut costs. About a year and a half ago, we had Dr. Mona Hanna-Attisha on our show. She is a doctor at the University of Michigan, and she is the doctor who uncovered what was happening in Flint. Nobody understood why people were getting sick. This woman who we interviewed on our show a year and a half ago was the woman who led a crusade to figure out why people were getting sick and then exposed all of the contamination and the contamination that was done purposefully and negligently by the government in Michigan. Now, a year and a half later, or actually it's 6 years later because people started getting sick in 2015, finally, the governor and the public works director of Michigan being charged criminally. But let's go back and look at a short clip from my interview with Dr. Hannah Atisha, because we had her discussing this on our show a year and a half, 2 years ago. Let's watch. What does lead do to children?
Great question. And that's when my life changed, when I heard the word lead. Because as a pediatrician, we know what lead does. It is a poison. It's an irreversible neurotoxin with no safe level. It impacts children's cognition, dropping IQ levels, impacts their behavior. It alters their entire life course trajectory. We are never supposed to use children. We're never supposed to expose them to lead because really we are only, when we detect it in a child, it just tells us there's an environmental problem.
How would I would say there's a direct correlation between what happened to the children in Flint and what's happening to children on the border right now in terms of their emotional growth and their emotional stability. You want to talk a little bit about that, about what happens to children in stressful situations and what stresses children and how that affects them growing up?
So the same mechanism that is happening for the children at the border is what's happening in Flint. We call this toxic stress. This is probably the most important concept right now in pediatrics and public health. It is the recognition of early trauma, early life trauma, on what happens to the lifelong development of children. It's the same thing as what's going on the border as in Flint. Children are rattled with so many toxic stresses, from poverty, violence, separation of parents, incarcerated parents, lead poisoned water. All of these are toxicities, and they have they impact children's brains. We know the science. It impacts their nervous system, their genetics, their immune function. And children exposed to these toxic stresses without being buffered, without the positivity, will have lifelong scars.
So she was the one who discovered all of this.
Wow, that's huge.
Right. And now, as the epilogue to all of this, the governor, what happened to me? There we are.
There you are.
The ex-governor of Michigan, not the current governor, arrested.
Wow. Good.
Yeah.
I love that we have that clip to go back to.
Yeah, wasn't it great? And by the way, just an FYI, Dr. Atisha's family came to the United States as immigrants from Iraq, and she ended up saving many, many Americans because she exposed the Flint water crisis. Had she not exposed it, who knows how many people would have died?
Wow.
Because people were just getting sick, but nobody knew why. Nobody was connecting the dots why people were getting sick.
Wow.
Almost like an Aaron Brockovich in a way, if you ever watched that movie with
Julia Roberts?
Yeah, with Julia Roberts. It's very similar.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Meanwhile, according to statistics from the Johns Hopkins University, there are now more than 92 million coronavirus cases worldwide. Earlier this week, the United States hit another grim record. More than 4,300 people died per day in the last week. It's like having a 9/11 every day.
Jeez.
Meanwhile, researchers in Ohio have discovered 2 new variants of the virus, but they say it's not any deadlier than these other variants, but they do spread more easily. That's that UK virus. Now, the NBA has postponed some games this week. Some of the players are getting sick. So masks are in on the bench, handshakes and high fives are out. Pharmacies are also offering their help. The CEO of the National Association of Chain Drug Stores has volunteered pharmacies to administer the 100 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine, giving important backup to overwhelmed healthcare systems. In 36 days since countries started vaccinating, only 28 million people in the world have actually got a dose of a vaccine. And only one of those countries is a low-income country, according to the World Health Organization. There's more than 5 million new COVID cases every day in the world, and more than 85,000 deaths every day in the world from COVID.
Wow.
That's a
Joe
lot.
Biden says, as part of his coronavirus legislation that he wants to propose, he wants to get 100 million shots in 100 million Americans in the first 100 days, which means 1 million people a day he wants to do. That would be great. I hope we can do it, because right now, very, very few people are getting this vaccine. And until we get vaccines into people's arms, this is just going to go on and on and on and on. The most important thing, as far as I am concerned, I mean, there's a lot of important things, but to me, if you want to get the economy back, you want to get back to life, you want to get cities to become vibrant, you want to get people on an airplane, you want to get people traveling, you want to get the workers back in restaurants, the workers back in offices, including this office, Spar and Bernstein.
Yeah.
You got to get a vaccine in people. Other than that, it's gonna be Groundhog's Day for us, day after day. It's literally, I feel it's Groundhog's Day.
Yeah. I feel like Biden's going to do it, though.
I hope so. Right now, it is a disaster.
Yeah.
It's a disaster. Because Trump, here's the vaccine. Good luck.
Yeah.
All right, it is Wacky World Thursday. We go around the world. We spin around the world.
Around town.
We go all over the world to find the wackiest, craziest news of the week in what we call Wacky World News Thursday. And as Vanessa said at the top, a super fan in the UK got drunk and legally changed his name on a drunken stupor at a bar to Celine Dion. It's all it's all now coming back to him.
Oh.
Yeah, he was a little hazy. It was like one of those. It was like from the movie The Hangover. You know, he wakes up and his name. He doesn't remember changing his name.
I love Celine Dion.
He doesn't remember changing his name. The 30-year-old Celine Dion, formerly known as Thomas Dodd, told. I don't know what. Well, I guess the Post. I don't know what the Post is, but I guess some paper in England. That he came up with the idea while getting lit to the max and watching a TV concert by the 52-year-old Canadian crooner on Christmas Eve, because he's just in love with Celine Dion. She is my go-to person I listen to when I need some cheering up. And also, obviously the booze he goes to when he needs some cheering up too. He said he spent much of the pandemic watching concerts while at home, including one by Celine Dion over the holiday that was accompanied by a magnum of champagne. He goes, that explains a lot. While enjoying the concert, he plunked down $122, which is 89 pounds in the UK, and officially took her name on an online application. However, he doesn't seem to remember doing it. He goes, I honestly at heart don't remember doing it. I remember watching the concert, and I remember getting rather tipsy. Days later, he came home from work as a hospitality manager in Stafford, England, to find an envelope that changed his name from the local government. He goes, I wasn't aware I'd done it until I found this envelope in my mailbox, he explained. Initially, I had to sit down, and I couldn't believe it. And then I checked my bank, which confirmed it all. And then it all sunk in. I signed it straight away as I bloody love her, he said. He shared images of his change of name deed on Twitter, and he did update his social media name to reflect his new name, which is now Mr. Celine Dion. However,
he actually changed the name?
He literally changed his name legally.
Yeah.
However, one person who initially was not amused by the name change was his mother. His mother wasn't pleased at first because his mother chose a different name for him. Thomas.
That's
You
hilarious.
guys could change your name to a celebrity name. What celebrity would it be if you guys could change your name to a celebrity name?
It would be
And
Yo-Yo.
Squad too.
Everybody in the squad's gonna get drunk and change their name to Yo-Yo.
Oh please! I'm changing my name where the money resides. Brad Bernstein.
Right.
But
Meanwhile, we're hanging out in England. I can't even pronounce this. A Gloucestershire. Is that the name of the town? Gloucestershire man has started walking his tortoise, Nancy Drew, to the pub and around town. Why is everything so wacky in the UK?
yeah.
UK is just wacky. Jason Smith says the African tortoise, which is actually a male, needs to burn off energy. As in the wild, he would ordinarily be looking for a mate at this time of year. And poor Nancy Drew feels more cooped up than usual due to the COVID travel restrictions. So Nancy Drew has become famous around Tewkesbury, with people loving to stop and say hello to this tortoise.
God.
Initially, they thought Nancy was a girl until one day she started trying to mate with a brick in the garden. Jason said Charlotte said to my wife Kate that there was going to be a new addition to the family. She thought she was going to be a grandmother, but got a tortoise instead. I don't know if that's wacky news, fuzzy news. Could be a lot of different news, that one.
Good mix.
Yeah.
Right. Could also go into hump day. I mean, the tortoise tried
That's
to
right.
hump.
Right. Yeah, tried to hump a brick. We
brick.
could do this on any. That could be a Friday news too. That was just happy Friday news. Tortoise humping a brick. It's happy news.
Yes.
Yep.
It could be all of the
Breaking
above.
news, actually.
It could be breaking news too. Very good. I like that. Meanwhile, scientists are saying the Earth is spinning faster than it has in decades. The Earth's 28 fastest days on record all occurred in 2020. That's why I'm so freaking dizzy. I know it. I didn't know why I was dizzy all year. I'm dizzy. I'm like, can the world just slow down, please? I didn't realize that the world was really spinning faster. The Earth's rotation can change slightly because of weather and ocean patterns, and usually the Earth is an excellent timekeeper. But this year, it was not very perfect. Did you feel the Earth was spinning faster?
Absolutely not.
Did you
I only feel that over the
No.
weekend when,
Yeah.
the party.
You and Thomas in England.
Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, if
Celine Dion and Ariana Grande over here.
Yeah.
I was gonna say if Yo-Yo shows up on Monday and all of a sudden it was like, yes, we're with Vanessa and Beyonce. Yes, how are you? We know what happened. We
have to accept it.
It was a good weekend.
Right, like Friday he's Yo-Yo, but today he's Beyonce.
Comes back, he's just gonna say everything was just going really fast.
But do you ever
Paperwork, all of it.
Do you ever get? Sometimes I just like stop the world. I want to get off, and it's quite ironic that the world was going faster this year.
That's crazy.
That's quite ironic. By the way, we don't have to get on an airplane for spanning the world. Everything's happening in the UK.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's wacky news. Thursdays are usually in the UK.
Yeah.
I mean,
a 12-year-old British aspiring DJ called Cale Bell organized an underground rave in his school bathroom in December. All the attendees were offered a soft drink and a Cadbury Twirl chocolate bar. The guest list to the bash included all Year 8 boys at St. Anthony's Catholic College in Greater Manchester. Cale's mom, Louise, posted the video of the rave on Facebook with the caption, "Am I wrong for finding this funny? Well, he's home. I've asked him about it. He never lets me down, this boy." Belle told the Mirror that she had to laugh. "It's been a terrible year, and I couldn't be angry with my son for having a party in the boys' bathroom." What exactly happened? I don't understand what this boy did. Do you get it?
No.
Wait.
What? Yeah, I'm like, what? Huh?
I guess he hosted a rave
in a bathroom.
And the DJ gear was confiscated. Okay, all right. Well, that is a little wacky, especially in the midst of but he's an entrepreneur in my eyes.
Okay.
That's what he got.
All right, and finally, we'll come back to North America. In Canada, we have the photos of the winners of the most recent hair freezing contest. By the way, Vanessa, you could probably do this with your hair if you want to freeze your hair.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Takini. It's done at the Takini Hot Pools in Canada's Yukon Territory. Their contestants are awarded in 5 categories: Best Male, Best Female, Best
Wow.
Group, Nogsham's People's Choice, and Tim Horton's Most Creative. The winner for
This
each
is
category
wacky.
makes $1,500. But you want to know what? You could just sit at home and get $1,400 stimulus and not freeze your hair.
Right.
Right? The contest has been around since 2011, steadily gaining popularity. This year's contest received 288 entries. Andrew Umbrich, owner and creator of Takini's Hot Pool, said, "We like to think that the contest will bring some joy to viewers around the world. If you want to enter the hair freezing contest for next year, you need to visit Takini Hot Pools between December and March on a day when the temperature is below 4 degrees. To achieve the perfect look, dip your head in the hot springs, wet your hair completely, then allow the cold air to slowly freeze your hair until you catch pneumonia."
So wait, like they just stand out there in the free cold that long?
Yes. You don't have to worry about COVID because at Takini Hot Springs, everyone leaves with pneumonia.
Pneumonia,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. You know?
Oh,
Right.
I mean, doesn't everybody's
That
mother
was
say,
wacky. I like
don't
that
go
one.
out in the cold with a wet hair, you will catch pneumonia.
right. That's
Well,
wild.
These folks know.
That's-
These folks obviously feel it's myth.
That's quick.
myth
Would you do
there.
that? Would you do that with your
No,
hair?
I get cold so easily. I am not made for anything colder. No, I'll take my stimmy.
Not only
You probably
would
would look
not
like
only would I
Medusa,
not do
like
that,
the curls
I don't
coming out
know.
like snake.
Unless you like to ski. Okay, so there's an exemption for skiing. But short of
I
that,
snowboard.
right. Short of that, if you live in cold weather, why would you go from cold to colder? That's
Right.
crazy, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I would go from cold to warmer. With an exemption,
Yes.
if you like skiing, then I understand. All
Right.
right. That was our spanning the world, but we didn't have to go too far. I guess because
We
of
didn't go too far.
Well, because of COVID restrictions, we can't really fly that around too far. So, they had to keep us in
Right.
one country. You can't get up on airplanes all over the place.
It makes sense.
Yes, it does. In today's Braducation, I answer the question: is a DUI a deportable offense? Sometimes I unfortunately get these telephone calls that say, "Hey, Brad, I just got pulled over for drinking. I got arrested. I got to go back to court. I'm not a U.S. citizen. Should I be concerned?" Well, if you plead guilty to a driving under the influence, generally in most states, driving under the influence is not a deportable offense, and it is not an inadmissible offense. But driving under the influence does affect good moral character on applications for your green card. It does affect good moral character for your applications for citizenship. So you still have to be concerned about a DUI. In addition, if you have a DWI, a driving while intoxicated, then that is a crime of moral turpitude. If it is a crime of moral turpitude, it could affect you traveling. It may make you inadmissible. It may make you deportable. But for whatever you do, before you plead guilty to anything, check with a good immigration lawyer. All right, so I'm going to be answering your immigration questions. But before I do, I have to tell everybody, when you ask your question, let me give you some tips to make Uncle Brad happy. When you ask your question, just ask the question. Nobody, Uncle Brad, Yo-Yo, Vanessa, the entire squad, nobody wants to hear your entire life story. You call with your immigration question, then listen. Listen. Let's go to, you got a question? I'll give you an answer. All right, Stacy Ann in Baltimore, Maryland. Stacy, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine. How are you, Brad?
What's going on?
Okay, I live in Baltimore, Maryland
Yes.
since, well, I am a national from Jamaica. I live in Baltimore, Maryland from August, and I was told whenever I went to look about my account that I need a tax ID number. So I don't have any papers, and I was wondering if it's a good idea to go ahead and get a tax ID number.
Well, to get a tax ID number, first of all, you have to file a tax return. You don't need, for most banks, I mean, although some banks may have their own internal policies, but you don't need a taxpayer identification number unless you're opening up an account that is interest bearing. If you're opening up an account that's non-interest bearing, the bank doesn't need a social security number because they don't have to declare anything to the Treasury or the IRS about any interest that you may have earned by keeping your money in the bank.
Okay.
But by all means, if you want to get a taxpayer identification number, that's fine, but that would require you to file a tax return for the year 2020. And hopefully you didn't work in your first 90 days of entry, because then it's a misrepresentation. So what income did you earn? Maybe in November or December, a couple of dollars. But yeah, I mean, if you want to, file a tax return, but that's the only way to get a taxpayer ID. You attach a W-7 form to your 1040 return, and I assume you were not paid. If you did work, you were not paid on the books, so then you would treat yourself as an independent contractor. I have now told you everything I know about taxes.
Okay, so I filled out a W-7. So you're saying don't file a W-7.
No, I'm saying you can't just fill out a W-7 and just file and say I want a taxpayer ID. You have to do it in conjunction with a 1040 tax return. So if you want a taxpayer ID, then you have to go to a tax preparer.
I have to go to where?
Tax preparer.
Oh, tax preparer.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Brad. You've been so helpful.
Good, great.
Okay. And I love your show.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Spread the word, Stacey.
Okay.
Okay. All right, let's go to Nehemiah in Bakersfield, California. Nehemiah. Nehemiah.
Hello.
Hi, Nehemiah. How are you?
Yeah, cool.
Nehemiah.
This is Nehemiah.
Nehemiah, you're live on. Nehemiah, you're live on the air. Ask your question, please.
Okay. Actually,
yeah, you're breaking up, and all you're saying is So let's get you organized with your question, and we'll come back to you. Let's go to May in Mount Vernon, New York. May.
Hi, I have a question. Saying I filed in. I sent my paperwork in May. The only response that I got back from them is that they received it. Now I have an account online, and I tried to change my address because I'm in the process of moving. But it's saying that during this adjunctation process, I cannot change the address. What do I do?
Just mail in an AR-11. You don't have to do it online then. Do it by mail.
Oh.
Okay? Because you have to. You're allowed to change your address. Nobody says you have to stay where you are.
Okay.
And if you have a problem with the online thing, come see us. But you can just fill out a paper form and do an AR-11 and submit a copy of your receipt notice and say, here's my receipt notice, here's the AR-11, I'm moving.
Okay. Right. Now, if I want to keep my same address, not keep my same address, but if I have someone collecting my mail, and then I move.
Are you moving down the street? What are you doing?
No, out of state.
Okay, no, then that would be some sort of misrepresentation. So you would need to move your case to the new state.
So I can't leave without completing the case.
Correct. You would do exactly what I told you to do, but just make sure that somebody collects your mail, because there could be a lag of several months before they change your address.
So I can change it?
I just told you. If they don't allow you to do it online for whatever reason, some computer glitch, you fill out an AR-11, you attach your receipt notices, and you write them a letter from where that receipt notice came from.
What does it mean by adjudication process?
I don't know what adjudication process is. Adjudication means that they're processing your case.
Okay.
All right.
All righty. Thank you so much.
All right. Let's go to Rona in Rockville, Maryland. Rona. Hi, Rona.
Hello?
Hi, Rona.
Hi, Brad.
How you doing?
I'm doing fine.
What's going on?
My sister passed. My mother filed for her and she passed. How do I get my niece to come to America?
Your sister filed for...
My mother filed for her
and she
her
passed
daughter.
Away. And she passed away.
And yeah.
Okay, how old is the daughter?
She's turning 13 this year.
Okay, who's watching the daughter now?
I have a sister in Jamaica that my mother filed for, and she's gonna come too.
Okay.
I want to know my niece can come with her.
No. Where is the father?
The father, she don't have a father. Her father abandoned her when my sister was alive.
Okay. And who in this group is a U.S. citizen?
Everybody's a U.S. citizen.
Okay. So somebody has to do what's called an orphan petition for this child. Child has no mother, no father. You have to do what's called a pre-adoption here in New York or whatever state you're in, Maryland, and at the same time strip the father who abandoned this child as a baby of his parental rights. So now the mother's passed, the father's stripped of his parental rights. This child is an orphan, and you're going to bring this child up as an orphan. It's a completely separate case. You just can't. Your sister can't just go in to the embassy when she's getting her green card and say, I've been taking care of my niece, I want her to come too. That's not how it works. So you have to do a separate orphan petition. We can help you. Hold on one second. Let's go to Donna in Fort Lauderdale. Donna.
Hi, good afternoon, Uncle Brad.
Hi, how are you?
Okay, I just need you to straighten me out a little.
Sure.
My husband, who is a citizen, filed for my son, who is 15 years old.
Right.
His son also, okay. But we send in all the application. From that, where do we stand? I don't know what's the other process.
Okay. Is your husband a citizen or a resident?
He's a citizen, U.S. citizen.
Okay. And where is your son now?
He's living with my husband here.
In the United States?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How did your son come to the U.S.?
He came through to visit, and then the person we came to visit did not come and pick him up. So his father, who was in the next state, had to fly down and take him.
All right. And the father became a citizen after he was born, I assume?
The father became a citizen in November last year.
Have you filed, when you say you submitted the papers, did you file an adjustment of status?
Yes, he submitted his paperwork, sir.
I don't know what paperwork you submitted. Did he submit an adjustment?
The I-130.
What else?
And I think he filed all the necessary paperwork.
Okay, so you're asking me what the next step is. I don't know you don't even know what was filed.
Yeah, I know the I-130, the changing of his status.
You did an adjustment of status?
Adjustment of status, yes.
Okay, so if you filed an adjustment of status, the next step will be that they will grant the adjustment and your son will become an automatic U.S. citizen because he would then at that moment be a lawful resident under the age of 18 residing with his father who is a U.S. citizen in his legal custody. So your son is going to go from nothing to U.S. citizen once they adjudicate his adjustment if your husband or the father of this boy did everything correctly.
Yes, sir. He's a father, okay. But he get all the receipt. He got the receipt from the I-30 and the adjustment of citizen. He got that receipt.
That doesn't change my answer to you. I told you the answer. What's going to happen?
You were low, sir. You were, sir.
I'm sorry?
I didn't hear clearly. You were a little bit low, so I didn't hear clearly, sir.
You didn't hear clearly. Okay. You want me to repeat it again?
Yes, sir. Please. Okay. Thanks.
My pleasure. If you filed the adjustment properly,
yes, sir.
The next step is there will be an interview, and your son will go from nothing to U.S. citizen because he will be living with a U.S. citizen father in his legal and physical custody, and once he's adjudicated a lawful resident, at that split second, he goes from nothing to citizen, and they will issue him a certificate of citizenship. And with that certificate of citizenship, he can then go get his U.S. passport.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
But you just have to wait for that interview. So assume...
Okay, we have to wait. Oh.
Okay, assuming it was done properly. I don't know if it was done properly, but assuming it was. Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Oh.
Let's go to Jose in Tampa. Jose, how are you?
Jose, hey, Brad.
Hey, how are you?
Pretty good, man. Thank you for answering me. Brad, going to be straightforward with you. 3D-wise, after 5 years in the United States, and 2 counts of burglary charge in 2000, burglary unoccupied dwelling on 2018. And I renew my green card again. They give it back to me for 10 years. I can travel? No or yes?
The DUIs, you should be able to travel. The burglary charges, you said charges. What, were you convicted of anything?
They put me on probation for 3 years. The burglaries of unoccupied dwelling, unoccupied.
What does unoccupied mean?
Well, I just broke out to my ex-girlfriend's house looking for her.
Okay. So you had two separate charges for burglary that you were found guilty of?
Yeah, at the same time, the same day.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you were to travel, you would be put in deportation. The difference is this. I am going to assume that both of those burglaries were put into one case and you were convicted of one crime. And I assume, I don't know because I don't see the dispositions. I would need to see the dispositions. So let me tell you what my analysis is. Okay? If you are convicted of a crime of moral turpitude more than 5 years after your entry into America, and it's one crime of moral turpitude, that is not deportable. If you have one crime of moral turpitude, it's not a petty offense, and you leave the United States and come back, and what you have is not a petty offense. It is a crime of moral turpitude because you had 3 years probation, or I would assume it's a crime of moral. I would assume it's not a petty offense. I can't guarantee you that actually.
Can I talk with you? Can I tell you just for 2 seconds? Just 2 seconds. I need from you 2 seconds. I went to my girlfriend's house, I jumped to the attic, and I fell in the other people's house. That's why they charged me with a 2 count of burglary of unoccupied.
Stop. Your facts don't matter. All that matters is you were found guilty of something. Now, why I say it's likely not a petty offense is because I don't know the section of law that you were found guilty of. I have not seen the disposition. But I'm presuming that based on what you're telling me, it's not a petty offense. It is a crime of moral turpitude that happened more than 5 years after you came to America, and therefore you're safe here. And that's why they didn't put you in deportation. But if you were to leave the country and return, they would put you in deportation because the laws are different for admissibility versus deportation. The DUIs don't affect you because those are not crimes of moral turpitude. I am giving you from 10,000 feet up. To give you a specific, I would need to see the dispositions. Okay?
Got you now. Got you 100%. Got you now.
1 second. All right, let's go to Raymond in Mission, Texas. Raymond.
Hi, good evening, Brad.
Yeah, what's going on?
Yes, can my petitioner employer file the I-140 while waiting for my I-539 approval for extension of status? I am a dependent on my wife's E-2 visa, and her I-539 extension of status has already been approved.
Yes, you absolutely can. You're in legal status, and if you got sponsored a job, why not file an I-140 and file an adjustment if you're eligible?
Oh, yeah, because on the I-140, there's a section there for the form expiration date of authorized stay shown on Form I-94. What should we put there since? You
would put C attached, and you would write 2 sentences. I-94 expired XYZ date. Case pending. Here's the receipt. And by the way, as long as you haven't violated your status for up to 180 days, you can file an I-140 and adjustment. So either way, you're okay.
Okay, thank you. And by the way, one more question.
Yes.
Our kids have ITIN. Are they eligible for the stimulus?
No. Oh,
no.
Is anybody in the family, nobody's a family is a resident yet, so not legally, they're not eligible for it, but if you get it, wonderful.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
There's no way the Treasury Department can figure out who's legal and who's not, so. Tony in Waterbury, Connecticut. Tony.
Hi, Uncle Brad. Good night.
How are you? Good night. What's going on?
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you.
So, I have a friend from Africa. He's a Nigerian. And the question is, is immigration still accepting petition from Nigeria?
Yes, and you should file immediately because it's the embassy it's the people. It's after your case is approved. The problem's at the embassy. But Biden's going to be president in 6 days, so it's going to be lifted, I'm sure.
Okay, so
file.
So Donald Trump ban don't affect them anymore?
That's not what I said. I said Biden's going to be president in 6 days. He most likely will lift it. And to file papers, you can always file papers no matter what country you're in. The problem is after the papers are approved and it gets to the embassy. So file.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Listen. Too many people call. They get so excited that they don't listen. Sometimes you just got to stay in the moment and listen. Let's go to Jimmy in Philadelphia. Jimmy.
Hello.
How are you?
Pretty good, sir. I got accused of indecent assault in 2018.
You got accused of an assault?
And yeah, indecent assault. And I have a green card. I came here in 2014, July.
What happened?
And the case got dismissed and expunged.
Okay, good.
And I was trying to, since it's more than 5 years, I was trying to apply for citizenship. So should I apply for citizenship or not?
Yes, because you had one bad night. One bad night, as long as the case was dismissed, doesn't make you bad moral character.
Yeah, so I got the ERD program after the first hearing.
My answer is to apply for citizenship. That was my answer to you.
Okay, so even if I got the program in this, so I can apply for citizenship.
What you told me was you got arrested. The case was dismissed.
No, arrested. No, arrested. I did not get arrested. I just got charged.
Guess what?
Charged.
Guess what?
After first.
Guess what? If you're charged with a crime, you're arrested. Okay? You got arrested. You got charged with a crime. Okay? Nobody gets charged with a crime and doesn't get arrested. That doesn't happen. Okay? You got arrested. You got charged with a crime. And the case was ultimately dismissed. It's the only time you've ever been arrested, charged with a crime ever in your history of your life.
It's my first time.
You're allowed to have a bad day as long as all of the other days in the 5 years you had good moral character, you'll be okay.
Oh, okay, so I can file it.
That's what I said 5 minutes ago. Yes. Hold on. Harpreet in Queens.
Hi, Brad.
How are you?
How are you?
Good.
Okay, I'm a Canadian citizen. I came here, and my dad is a legal resident here, and I visit the United. Since 2000, I've been coming here, and I got married in 2017 to a U.S. citizen. Then we applied for my green card, and she didn't want to go to the interview, but then I had no choice, and because she used her citizenship against me, and then I filed for VAWA. And last week, my VAWA case was denied due to lack of evidence. And what should I do now?
I don't have an answer for you. Your question is now I'm a legal alien. My VAWA case got denied. How do I get a green card?
Yes.
And my answer is to you, I don't know. You would need to have a consultation with me. I don't know what you mean by lack of evidence. Was there any extreme emotional abuse or physical abuse? Or you just filed something for the sake of filing something?
No, there was.
Okay, but you didn't prove it. So maybe we should file again if we can figure out the proof of this. Maybe you got divorced and married somebody else. Maybe there's a third option. I don't know. There's like a lot of different things that we would have to discuss in what's called a consultation to figure it out. So there's no way in the world that I can figure out your life on this show in a 45-second telephone call. I can tell you if you say, hey, I want to file the VAWA, what form should I use? I-360. Hey, what do I need to prove a bona fide marriage? You live together and you have a financial relationship. But hey, figure out my life, you need a consultation. Hold on. Let's go to Peter in Chicago. Peter.
Hey, Brad. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
Good morning, good afternoon. It depends on where you are. You are in Chicago and I am in New York. So we are both good evening. How are you?
I'm good, sir.
All right. What's happening?
Thank you so much. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, please. I have been waiting patiently. I filed a VAWA in 2017, precisely August. So I don't know what has been holding. So as at September 25th,
You say you filed a
2020.
VAWA in 2017. You still haven't gotten a decision yet?
No, after that in 2017, so I got information. There was an update, or just this day, 25th of September, that my case has been moved to another service center for adjudication.
What is your question for me?
So my question is, because I stay in Chicago, so I just want to know why they say they have moved it to another center. Then I'm here in Chicago. So I just want to know.
Whenever they move cases around from center to center, it's just to balance out work. So maybe one center has more work and the guys in another center don't. The laws are all the same, so they kind of shuffle cases around depending on who has work to do and who doesn't.
Hello? Say that again?
People not hearing me today?
I'm sorry, the line was breaking.
What I said is, don't worry about it. They're just shuffling work around to people who have more work to less work, but don't worry about it. Doesn't mean anything. All right?
Okay. So can I say that my case is now in Chicago because I got a letter that I should go and do my medicals. So
don't do your medical until they ask for it or they schedule you for an interview.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Let's go to Nicholas in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Nicholas.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Mr. Brad, I have a quick question. Yes. I am from Nepal, currently maintaining F1 status, non-immigrant student visa, and I came to the United States in 2014. I never applied for TPS, Temporary Protected Status for Nepal. Can I still apply for late initial registration for TPS? Late initial registration again.
I don't know what the rules are for Nepal, but I believe that for all the different TPSs, you had to file within a certain period of time, and if you didn't, then you're out of luck. So my guess would be no, without knowing off the top of my head the exact rules for Nepal. But generally on TPS, they give you a specific time to file the initial TPS application. If you're past that time, then you are out of luck.
Perfect. But yes, sir, I'll still go ahead and set up a consultation with you because my case is very unique.
Yeah, let's figure it out. Hold on one second, okay?
Thanks.
All right. There's a joyful guy. Last guy. Meanwhile, if you didn't get your immigration questions answered, there's another place you can go. Follow me on Instagram at Real Brad Bernstein. If you follow me on Instagram at Real Brad Bernstein, can we get rid of the? Every time I say the, I hear another the. If you follow me at Real Brad Bernstein, you can drop me a DM, and if you drop me a DM, I'll be happy to answer your question. Ask everybody in the squad. If you follow me, I do generally answer your immigration questions. And all you got to do is drop me a DM. If you like our show and can't find 2 hours to watch every day, you could always watch a minute or two on @Bradshaw Live on Instagram for the best highlights of our show. And of course, follow us there as well. So there's 2 different places to follow: Real Brad Bernstein, Bradshaw Live, and of course, Jonathan Yo-Yo Elias.
Yes, you guys can follow me at Jonathan Elias TV on Instagram.
And you guys can find me at Vanessa.Contreras TV.
And as I said earlier, later in the show, I'm going to be speaking with Mexican-American singer-songwriter and musician Alejandro Escovedo about his latest album, La Cruzada, a Spanish version of his 2018 album, The Crossing, which hit the top 10 on the Billboard Latin Pop album charts the first week of its release.
In today's Close-Up, Spar and Bernstein client, Sasha Ford, tells us what it's like using Spar and Bernstein to handle her immigration case.
Grad Squad, they did my case, and I was like, yeah, I'm very knowledgeable because I was so involved from the beginning of my case until, the ending. I'm from Jamaica, and I moved here 5 years ago. After getting married, I reached out to the firm, and I was quickly put with a lawyer and a paralegal. And the process was not bad. All I had to do was to submit everything they asked me for in a timely fashion, make my regular payments, like they do payment plans. So that's like the greatest part of it. And then, everything just flow. All I have to do is just to show up wherever they ask me to show up. And my interview went really great. My lawyer was there with me. My husband answered, fairly well. And I just sat there, and then it was my turn. So, it wasn't hard. By the time I was 2 years into my marriage, I already have my 10 years. The firm helped me. They did everything for me. All I have to do was to submit the paper and make my payment, and they work on the behind the scenes. Just go to Brad and get it done and over with, and you're good.
All right, let's do something we like to call social media check-in, where we're going to check all of our comments and pull the best questions for me to answer right now.
Awesome. All right, Mr. Biggs on YouTube. I'm a resident green card holder. I got married in December. When can I file for my wife and my 23-year-old daughter?
Today. Nothing like doing it right now. Sorry about that, Vanessa.
You said what?
I said nothing like doing it right now. Don't delay.
Right. Absolutely.
User Cruzada on YouTube. I am an asylum derivative of my father, who came B1, B2 in 2016, still pending. I got married to a green card holder. Can I adjust status?
Depends on how you entered the United States. If you have a situation where you were paroled in at the border, then the answer is yes. If you came in on a visa and then applied for asylum, no.
Welton Irie on YouTube. Did an interview without my wife. She's on active duty. Got approved, but now the case says reopen for reconsideration. What's the next step? They said the green card was being processed, but it reopened.
What means is that the officer screwed up, approved your case, and when the supervisor looked at it, said, you can't approve a case without interviewing the wife. We're going to reopen the case, not give him his green card, and we're going to let that adjustment application stay pending until the wife gets back from active duty and they can interview you together.
Camila Silva on YouTube. I applied for VAWA in 2018. I-485 and I-360 were sent together. VAWA was approved in March of 2020, and 485 was transferred to NVC in August of 2020. How long should I expect for my interview?
The 485 would not be transferred to the NVC, the National Visa Center, or the NBC?
No, NBC.
Oh, National Benefits Center. Okay. I don't know when we will get your interview. When was it filed? The initial adjustment?
The VAWA in 2018.
And when did it get approved?
Now the VAWA was approved March 2020.
You won't get an interview till this summer.
Okay, Peter Mimba on YouTube. What USCIS look like when they say we are still reviewing your case after the interview?
Exactly what it means. They're reviewing your case. There's an issue that they're going through. What is that issue? Who knows? But they're reviewing something. That means you are not approvable. You are not deniable. They're reviewing it. Exactly what it means.
Mega_insane_007 on YouTube. I was asked for a copy of my I-9 of my previous employers. I answered with only one response from one of my employers stating that they can't get access to it, and now waiting for over 50 days from USCIS.
And that's a
not sure what the question is here.
Yeah, I-9 is the employment verification. Is this... ask the question again, because it's a statement.
It's a statement.
Yeah, you have 90 days. They give you 90 days to fix the problem. I think he's having something problem with his employment verification. He should give me a call. You get 90 days before your employer is going to fire you.
Okay, Garvuyi Garvlen on Facebook. Since 2018, my case has been an interview, but no green card yet. Is this normal?
2018?
Mm-hmm.
That's not normal. Well, you know what? You know what you do when it's not normal?
Mandamus.
You got it. You got it. Vanessa?
Morris Dutton on YouTube. My husband came with a tourist visa and overstayed, but I submitted last year to the I-130 and was approved. With the new administration, will I be able to apply for adjustment status for him if I'm LPR?
It depends. It has nothing to do with your status. It's your husband in legal status. Because if he's in legal status, then yes, you can adjust his status. If he's not in legal status, he would have to wait for you to become a citizen.
Jack Lee on Facebook. Can someone apply for late initial TPS registration? My best friend is maintaining non-immigrant status right now.
We answered that question. I don't know if it's the same guy, but whenever there's a TPS, you have to file the initial TPS within that time frame. You know, every place that they have TPS for different countries, they give different time frames. So if you miss that time frame, then you're out of luck. Like the guy called from Nepal, I don't know off the top of my head what the time frame was for the initial application, but if you didn't file within that time frame, then you can't file late now.
Guamana Baris on YouTube. If I overstayed my visa, can I apply for an adjustment of status? My dad is a U.S. citizen.
If you're under 21.
Anita Nelson on Facebook. If I respond to NOID, how long after will I hear from USCIS? And how will I know if they received my NOID response?
Well, you should send it by overnight mail or or certified mail, some way to verify. Don't send it by regular mail. And number two, it's supposed to be 120 days, but who knows? It could be 120 years, the way USCIS works.
Oh.
Lilith Chatron on YouTube. Are there any changes with pending asylums from 2017? If after I-130 I am waiting more than a year, does it make sense to ask the Ombudsman for some help?
Well, there are no changes to your 2017 asylum. I don't know who filed the I-130. I don't know if you're in removal. I don't know if you need to file your adjustment. So instead of asking the Ombudsman, go ask Uncle Brad. Ombudsman's not going to do much for you. But you need to have a consultation because I need to know a lot more.
A Better Tomorrow on YouTube. My religious worker case is approved. I have my SSN, but I've been told that I can't work for another institution, but just for the church. Is this true?
Yes, because you're getting sponsored by the church as a religious worker, which means that you have said to the U.S. government that you are dedicating your life to this religious work. So if you turn around and decide to go get a job at the Home Depot, then you're not really a religious worker, are you?
Sam Mava on YouTube. It was announced undocumented people who are living in the U.S. for 8 years will be eligible for amnesty. What if someone stayed for 7.5? They're not eligible?
Whoa. There was no announcement that you'll be eligible for amnesty. You're now asking me for specific things about you. If you left, are you out? There's no amnesty. There is no law. All that happened was Kamala Harris said, we think we're going to submit this to Congress. That doesn't mean that's the law. And as I told you yesterday, it is going to be changed. What Kamala Harris and Joe Biden submit to Congress will not be the law. What will be the specifics of that law, I don't know. So there is no amnesty at this moment. However, I would say this. If you were smart and you want to go, because I believe, my opinion is if they will do an amnesty, I think what they would do first is clean up the backlog of people who have pending applications before they give people who've done nothing. So to me, if you're a smart person, and I think you are, file something. If you're eligible for DACA, file for the DACA. If you're eligible to have your brother file for you, let your brother file for you. You're eligible to have your parent file for you, let your parent file for you. You're eligible for your spouse to file for you, get something filed. Because to me, that would put you in a better position if, in fact, this would pass. That's my hypothesis. I don't know for sure. Nobody knows, and nothing's been passed yet.
Okay, Jade on YouTube is asking, do you guys have any new news on Biden's plan for VAWA? And are VAWA applicants included in amnesty?
Go back and rewind one minute. Vanessa.
Yeah. 1 minute. She Loved Joseph. Ironically, those are back to back. She Loved Joseph on YouTube. I've been married to a U.S. citizen for 2 years. When I decided to put in my papers after 2 years, now he is asking for a divorce. What options do I have?
Either file an abuse. I wish we had the braducation from when I'm on the terrace with the nice view of New York City. You can, okay, what I say on my braducation, when the marriage breaks down and you haven't gotten your green card yet, send flowers and work it out.
Right.
Do a VAWA if you qualify, get divorced and try another way. Those are your 3 options for everybody. All right, 2 more.
Okay, Welton, Ari, let me do another. Carlos Estrella
all the way from
YouTube.
the DR.
Huh?
He's our old viewer from years and years ago. He's
really?
Yeah. He comes every so often. Years ago, he used to watch all the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at you remembering.
Yeah. I remember the people who come all the time.
Wow.
Used to come all
awesome.
the time. Yeah.
All right, Carlos Estrella on YouTube. I was deported 21 years ago, but 30 years ago I was a victim of a crime. Can I still apply for a U.S. visa?
Carlos, we did your FOIA. I don't remember why you were deported, so you need to speak to us again. And Vanessa.
Vicenia Kikana Gilchrist on YouTube. I was authorized in August for work authorization, but still have no EAD. What do I do?
What happened in August?
I was authorized in August for a work authorization, but still have no EAD. What do I do?
I don't know what that means. I was authorized.
Seems like we need more
no
information.
EAD. Would that mean your VAWA was filed and approved and they didn't get the EAD yet? I'm not sure what she's asking. Let's go one more because I didn't even understand that question.
Okay.
Okay, Shahab on YouTube. I submitted my citizenship application in mid-September 2020, but I did not get my biometric appointment. What should I do?
If you did your citizenship, they're most likely going to use your biometric that you did previously, so you don't have to do anything. They're reusing biometrics that they've collected over the years. So presumably that's why you did not get a biometric. Sit still, you'll get your citizenship interview soon. All right. I recently spoke with Mexican-American singer, songwriter, and musician Alejandro Escovedo about his latest album, La Cruzada, a Spanish version of his critically acclaimed 2018 album, The Crossing, his incredible career, and his own family's immigration story. Let's watch. Critically acclaimed Mexican-American singer, songwriter, and musician Alejandro Escovedo truly crosses boundaries. From leading a punk band that opened for the Sex Pistols to his latest album, La Cruzada, a Spanish version of his 2018 album, The Crossing, the artist's incredible career spans many decades and diverse musical genres. Joining me to discuss his esteemed body of work and how his family's own immigration background has shaped his life and his music is Alejandro Escovedo. Thank you very much for coming on. I really appreciate you joining me today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So La Cruzada, it was released on October 24th and reached number 8 on the Billboard Latin Pop album chart that same exact week. So it opened at number 8. Congratulations. Let's start by listening to some of the song Pasos de los Sombros, Footsteps in the Shadows.
Hey, hey, ven acá, te necesito más que nunca. Hey, hey, ven acá, corriendo por nuestras vidas. Hey, hey, ven acá, hay refugio en tus palpitos. Se están acercando, nos están encerrando.
Wow, That is really, really amazing. And you recorded it both in Spanish and in English. Do you mind if we listen to the English version too?
Feel free.
Hey, hey, come on. I need you more than ever. Hey, hey, come on. We're running for our lives. Hey, hey, come on. There's refuge in your heartbeat. They're closing in. They're closing in.
So what is La Cruzada, the crossing, about?
Well, in about 2016, I began to tour Europe more than I had in the past, and especially Italy. And when I was given an opportunity to tour Europe, I was given the choice of working with different bands from Europe. And one of the bands was an Italian band from a little village in Emilia-Romagna by the name of Modigliana. And the band was called Don Antonio. And I fell in love with them. They're kind of soundtracky, abstract, very spacious music that I love very much. So we did, my wife and I flew over there. We did a tour. It was 42 shows in 46 days, 10 different European countries, you know. Wow. So we got very close immediately, you know. And needless to say, we traveled by a van. So there was 5 Italians and my wife and I in the van with our equipment. So we were very cozy. And I went back 2 months later to tour southern Italy in Calabria. And it was there that I saw a real correlation, a real relationship between Mexican culture and Italian culture, especially in the South. There was a lot of immigrants coming from Africa and such countries. So they were having problems with that, dealing with that. And in my head, I devised this story of a young Italian boy, and his name is Salvo, and a young Mexican boy from Saltillo in the state of Coahuila, which is where my father's birthplace is. And his name is Diego. And they meet in Galveston, Texas while they're working at a restaurant. And it's while they're working in the kitchen that they devise this plan and kind of quest to go find the rock and roll that they've read about and listened to all their lives. They love American punk rock music. They love the films of the 70s, the directors of the film, like Peckinpah and John Huston and different directors from the 70s. And they also love the Stooges, you know, and the Velvet Underground and such, you know, and they love the poetry of Bukowski and the Beat Poets. So that's the America that they go looking for.
Are these the things you love too, though?
Yes, very much. We immersed ourselves in these characters, both Antonio and I. And, you know, they go looking for this America, and what they find is an America that's very closed to their ideas of freedom, their ideas to move freely throughout the United States and travel. They find a lot of different roadblocks along the way. In fact, at one point, Salvo is shot by a policeman, and we lose Salvo. And in the end, Diego makes it to LA to see the bands that he loves, but on his way back, he's still kind of fighting and being chased by immigration. And it's at the end of this journey with Diego that he kind of sits there and really kind of contemplates whether this journey was worth it at all, really. And he decides that it's best that he goes back home.
Have you done albums like this in the past, like a whole concept of a story and a story arc?
I wrote an album with Chuck Prophet, and we wrote an album that was called Real Animal. And it's basically about my life in music. You know, how I started in punk rock and the bands I was in, the Nuns, opening up for the last Sex Pistols show, moving to New York and living in the Chelsea Hotel when Sid and Nancy lived there, and it was the tail end of that great New York scene. So, yeah, I have done that before.
How do you put this all together? Because basically writing a musical, in a way, a rock musical, right?
Very much, yes. You know, like when I wrote Real Animal with Chuck, we actually set up a storyboard, like we were making a film, you know. And so we had narrative for the different characters and the music and in the story, timelines and things like that. With this one, what we did was we traveled around the back roads of Texas, really getting a feel for different stories from DACA kids and things like that, you know, and just people who lived in the backcountry and what their views were on immigration and such. We ate a lot of tacos and we had a lot of fun driving around in my truck. I'd say I wrote about 98% of the lyrics while we were in the studio in Italy. And I think that having that perspective of being away from the country and being away from any sort of influence whatsoever really kind of liberated my creative self, and they just flowed out. And it was really wonderful to have it because the musicians were so supportive, and they also kind of gave me their viewpoint on what America was to them and what it would be like to be seen through the eyes of an immigrant.
So you wrote this whole album about immigration. Your family has an immigration story too. What is that?
Well, my father was born in Mexico in Saltillo, Coahuila. He was born in 1907. My father crossed the border when he was 12 years old looking for his own parents who had left him behind in Saltillo to be raised by his grandparents. So he made his way to San Antonio when he was 12. We had relatives in San Antonio, and these relatives told him that his parents were in a little town called Luling, Texas, where they were picking watermelons. And he was reunited with his mother and father and his sister, but found that his father was a very abusive man. And my father ran away again at the age of 16 and then began his family out on the West Coast, out in place called Pittsburgh, California. My father ended up having 13 children, 8 of which became professional musicians. And it was really important to tell my father's story because I felt that my father had contributed a lot to American culture by raising this family that was musical and set out upon the world to spread nothing but love and music and peace, you know.
You know, it's amazing that you say that 8 of your father's children are musicians. Coke and Pete, they were part of Santana. They were part of that amazing band, your brothers. Javier started the Zeros, of extraordinarily influential punk rock band. Another brother, Mario, he was in a great band called the Dragons. And then it goes even beyond that. Your niece is Sheila E.
Yeah, it goes beyond that.
Also very, very popular pop artist. Now, several songs on the album deal directly with the present-day controversy over American immigration. How much of this album was political for you, and how much was just telling a story?
It doesn't play into politics, but politics certainly has to embrace the story because the story is an American story. In fact, one of the characters in The Crossing says, "I'm not the wetback here. You're the ones who crossed the ocean in order to come and kind of invade my country." But I think we wanted it to be so much a human story because we felt it would be more universal in that sense, rather than it being a political barb at any one particular thing.
Let's hear a piece from another song off the album, Texas Is My Mother.
I would carry you on my shoulders across the muddy river. Texas feels like Mexico. She reminds me of my mother.
Beautiful. So what inspired the story in this song?
This song was actually inspired by some kids that we had met in Dallas who told us their story of crossing the border. And this young man, Javier, who was a wonderful clothes designer, very artistic, very creative, told me a story how he and his sister and his family crossed the border. And they crossed the river. And at one point, his aunt was very, very weak and she was feeling sick. And so he tried to carry her across the border, but the current was stronger than he was and took her away. And she died. In saying that Texas is my mother, I think what I was trying to say that my father told me that when he crossed the border in those days, we're talking about, 1920, 1921, the border was like an invisible line, because Texas was Mexico at one point, as well as a good portion of the Southwest. When we live here, we always refer to Texas as occupied Mexico, because it's very Mexican and the culture is still very prevalent here. And it reminds me of my mother, who was born in San Marcos, Texas.
The spoken word Rio Navidad, it's very powerful. Let's hear some of Rio Navidad.
A retired Texas Ranger sits down next to me and says, "What's your name?" So I tell him, "My name's Diego." "What kind of wetback name is that?" he asks.
In this piece, Diego is confronted at a wedding by a Texas Ranger who calls him a racial slur. What inspired that song?
An actual experience that I had with an ex-Texas Ranger at my friend's wedding. I was in the True Believers at the time, so it was in the 80s. And my friend had a wedding down on the border around Piedras Negras and down in that area. And so we went to the wedding and it was all beautiful. At one point, we walked out into a field, I remember, and his uncle was out there smoking. And when we walked up to him, this gentleman said, "Uncle John, this is Alejandro." And the gentleman said, "What kind of wetback name is that?" And being that it was my friend's uncle, I couldn't really retaliate in any way. So I waited this long in order to kind of respond to it, with this song.
It hurts when you hear those things?
It always hurts. I mean, I think growing up a Chicano in Southern California, where we moved when I was young, there was always a sense that we didn't belong. And now more than ever, I realize at this point in my life, with the kind of politics that we have in this country and the division we have in this country, that we still don't belong,
Is that what makes you want to write these stories about immigrants who are coming to America?
It's a good way for me to express anger and frustration and a sense that I am as good as anyone, and to prove myself in a way that establishes my abilities and creativity, All my life in schools, when I was growing up, I was told that I couldn't be certain things. We were always kind of channeled to be laborers, basically. When I told my teacher I wanted to be a lawyer, they kind of laughed at me.
You formed the punk rock band The Nuns in San Francisco. You opened up for the Sex Pistols when they began touring. What was it like being in San Francisco in the 1970s, I assume this is?
I had been living in Hollywood, California. So in Hollywood, I was not playing music, but I was following the bands religiously. And then my partner and I, Bobby, we hitchhiked to San Francisco, and it was there that we decided that we were going to make a movie about the world's worst band.
Right.
And since we couldn't play, we decided that we would be the band in the movie, And that band became The Nuns. And The Nuns went on to open for the last Sex Pistols show, amongst a lot of other things. We opened up for Brian Ferry at Winterland. We did a lot of great stuff. So being in San Francisco was really wonderful because I remember that, there was nowhere to play. Bill Graham owned the city, And so we would have to make up our own gigs, One time we walked into a Filipino supper club in North Beach called Mabuhay Gardens. And we told the owners that we could draw thousands of people, so they gave us like a Tuesday night or something, And we went out and we just gave these free tickets that we printed, and we gave them to everyone who looked cool, in North Beach. It was the City Lights bookstore people and the Cockettes and the Angels of Light and just all the bizarre and beautiful people that are in San Francisco, So we started to draw a lot of people, and that was our audience at first. And The Nuns really kind of was a launching pad. I got to see the world because of The Nuns,
When did you know that you were going to be successful? At what point in your career did that happen?
I don't think about that stuff that much. I can't think of anything else I'd ever want, in this world. I have a lovely life, So success for me, I mean, I did it, I did it. I feel good about it.
And how do you feel in terms of your fans?
Well, I look at it like I was growing up with my fans, because a lot of them came with me from punk rock and grew up, and had kids, and now their kids come to the show. And I've even had some, there's another generation that comes to the shows because of the records they find in their grandparents' or parents', collection. Without those people, I wouldn't be here speaking to you today,
Right. You went from San Francisco to, with The Nuns, you made your way to New York City, I believe in the late 70s. You were actually living in the infamous Chelsea Hotel. You even wrote a song titled Chelsea Hotel. You want to share some stories of what it was like back in New York City as a musician in Chelsea, at the Chelsea Hotel?
For me, it was like a dream come true because, a lot of kids of my generation wanted to go to Europe, once they finished school or whatever, And for me, it was always, I wanted to go to New York because the Velvet Underground were from there, and the Young Rascals, the New York Dolls, all these great bands, So that's where I wanted to go. And when I got there, New York did not disappoint. It was an amazing, beautiful wonderland of concrete and steel and you know, just these buildings and people and cultures that I was never exposed to before. First night we went out with our managers. We went into Max's Kansas City to see Johnny Thunders and the Heartbreakers play. And at the table we were sitting at was Andy Warhol, Francesco Scavulo, who was a photographer for Interview magazine, George Clinton, Blondie, and the Nuns together watching the Heartbreakers, you know. Suddenly we felt part of something bigger, you know.
What made you leave New York to go to Austin?
I had hooked up with a couple guys from a band that I knew in San Francisco called the Dills. And we decided we were going to start a band that we had kind of toyed around with in San Francisco called Rank and File. And we were kind of really into roots music, listening to blues and country, you know, hard country and reggae, a lot of reggae, dub reggae especially, you know. And so we tried to start a kind of country-ish band in New York, but we couldn't find the right people. And when we toured through Austin, Texas. And I fell in love with it. And I remember calling my partner and saying, you know, if this doesn't work out with Rank and File, this might be a cool place to come and check it out, you know. And so we all decided we would move to Austin. It was 1980. And we moved to Austin. You know, Austin at that time was a city of songwriters. I mean, some of the greatest songwriters of all time, Townes Van Zandt, Joe Ely, Butch Hancock, Guy Clark. Willie was still hanging out here a lot, you know. So it was really the place to be to learn about that music. And when the band broke up, I just stayed. I love it here, you know.
Now, eventually you started a solo career in the late 90s, and you were actually called the Artist of the Decade by No Depression magazine. How'd that make you feel?
You know, it's wonderful, but it was kind of embarrassing. I remember all my friends calling me up and giving me a hard time about it, you know, like that I had just won haircut of the decade or whatever, you know, things like that. It was a beautiful gift.
Now, what are you going to be working on next?
What I want to do is kind of collect about 15 songs throughout my career and translate them into Spanish and sing them in Spanish, you know. So I think I'll try that again and see how that goes. I think it's something I've always wanted to do anyway, so I think it'll be fun.
You're a Mexican-American born in America who has made a great success of himself as a musician. Did you reach your American dream? Is there still more to go?
I think there's a lot more to go, you know, because I think about the world that my father lived in, the world that my father tried to succeed in, the children that he raised, and how much success we've had with music. You know, it's been really beautiful. I want more for the people who are like my father. Every time I go to Mexico, all I see is my family, you know. Because of where I live in the Southwest, that's a vital part of my existence here. So my American dream, I feel like I've been very close to fulfilling, you know. But for a lot of other people, they don't have the kind of avenue or expression that I've had, you know. They're not able to find that voice. And so maybe through these songs, we can sing for them in a way, you know.
Thank you very much, Alejandro. It was really a pleasure talking with you and having you on our show.
You're quite welcome. Thank you so much.
Sunday, Alejandro celebrated his 70th birthday, and all of Austin, Texas celebrated with him, as you can see by the marquee on the historic Paramount Theater in downtown Austin. Always a friend, it says, which is a reference on one of his songs, Happy Birthday, Alejandro. And now we are ready to see if I will get some birthday balloons, although it's not my birthday, or I'm just going to get blown to smithereens. 50 seconds, I'm going to answer 9 immigration questions, or there is some incendiary device somewhere buried in the studio. I don't know. Are we feeling confident, guys? Men, women, the men and women who ask me the 9 immigration questions, do we feel confident?
Yes. Can you hear us?
I hear the men and women now of the who ask me the immigration questions. We have confidence.
Yes, confident. Very confident.
All right. Now you have built my confidence up as well.
Absolutely.
I feel very powerful, and I think I can do it.
Okay.
Let's try.
My I-131 was approved. Do I have to wait for the card to travel outside the U.S.?
Yes.
Can you travel to the U.S. Can you travel to the U.S. with a certificate of naturalization?
No, you need a passport.
How long is an I-130 valid after approval?
Ever. Forever until the... Okay, go.
Sorry. Can I expedite the process of the EAD is expiring?
Pass.
Can a green card holder file for stepchildren?
Yes.
Will divorce affect the pending citizenship?
No.
Can I apply for AOS if I'm out of status?
If you're married to a citizen.
How long after I-360 approval will the I-485 interview take place?
1 year.
Is it legal to borrow money from your immigration lawyer?
No.
Can I expedite the process if my AED is expiring? I overlapped it. I'll take some accountability for that.
I take accountability. What was the question that Vestas saw?
You answered it, and I'm just trying to.
Yeah. What was the question again?
Can I expedite the process if my EAD is expiring?
Yes, you can. And what was the other question?
That was the last.
No. That was the one that I said pass to.
Oh.
Can my the last one.
Can my dad renew his green card if his father is a U.S. citizen?
Yeah, unless you derive citizenship, yeah. Huh?
Yeah.
What?
I switched up.
Yeah. And by the way, there was a question, does divorce affect citizenship? If you're basing it on a bona fide marriage, yes. If it's based on 5 years, no. So that was a kind of a trick question, depending on what section of law you were doing it. But I just answered it based on the most basic way to become a citizen, which is after 5 years.
That's the first one.
Great.
I'm just gonna rip some papers up in front of me because I think we could have. Because I think we could have done it.
I'm all.
You know who has to clean that up, by the way? Me. There's nobody else here.
Right.
So as I'm cleaning it up,
the dramatic effect.
Yeah, as I'm cleaning up, I'm like, damn, why'd I do that? I could have just left. Now I gotta clean. All right. Comments of the day.
All right, our first comment of the day comes from Lisa Bling Rose saying, when you're working for Trump, remember, you're on The Apprentice.
Truly.
You're fired.
Yeah, you're fired. Okay, I didn't get it. Okay, yes, you're fired. That is true.
Yeah. This one comes from Rukayat Asholange, and they say, "Hi, Brad Squad. So happy to join your live show for the first time."
All right, welcome.
Tell a friend to share and tell a friend.
That's right, and share and then tell a friend again.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right, our third comment of the day comes from Elizabeth Francis saying, "Squad up, I'm late, but I couldn't let the show go by without watching."
Thank you for joining us.
Better to come late than never.
That's right.
Yes.
For sure. And wrapping up comments of the day for tonight, Getaway Kath says, "Success is simple. Do what's right, the right way, at the right time. Thank you, Mr. Bernstein, for your everyday service to all peeps out here. Always remember that you and your team are a blessing to us."
Oh, wow. Very nice. Do the right thing. We're a blessing, and thank you. All in one comment. I like that.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed our show. We enjoyed doing it for you, and we'll enjoy it again tomorrow when we're back. But it's a pop-up only, so you got to subscribe to know when we're going to be popping up on YouTube or follow us on Facebook. Right? So, Sam, as part of the production, we have to say this disclaimer at the end of the show. Do you mind reading it for me?
Okay, but you know, Brad, I have to do everything around here. It's bad enough I've got to remember everything that happened on the episode from the previous day.
Forget it. I'll do it. The proceeding was information only and not specific legal advice. Consult an attorney about your individual situation. Prior successful results do not guarantee a similar outcome in the future. To make an appointment with the Spar and Bernstein law firm located at 225 Broadway in New York City, call 1-800-529-5465. That's 1-800-529-5465. Easy to remember, 1-800-LAWLINK. That's 1-800-LAWLINK. Once again, make a call to 1-800-529-5465. And of course, link up with the law offices of Spar and Bernstein, located at 225 Broadway on the 5th floor. If I were you out there, make the call, make the link, make the connection, make it Spar and Bernstein. 1-800-LAWLINK. That's 1-800-529-5465. And now, conveniently located in Hartford, Connecticut on 1 Congress Street. Visit us in Connecticut or in New York at 225 Broadway. That's 1-800-529-5465. 1-800-LAWLINK. 1-800-529-5465.
What are you doing?